Xenoblade 1 definitely has to be one of my favorite Wii games of all time, and definitely has to be one of my favorite open world games of all time. I really do think Monolith Soft gave it their all with making this game just because there was a bunch of effort shown here, and I really do enjoy most of the game. And I do know that since it was made on the Wii, the graphics aren't as great, and I do think that the Switch version more or less makes up for it because from what I've seen, it does really look great. I'm still really glad that this game got a lot more recognition just because, Shotgun Smash, and then we got stuff like Xenoblade X and stuff like Xenoblade 2. And for I heard those games are really good, especially 2 because I've actually played through that and I really do like it. X, I've just heard that it's pretty good. But nonetheless, I think it's a good time to get into the video because if I talk more, I feel I could just go on a whole rant about Xenoblade 1 and 2. So let's just get into the actual video. First thing I do love about this game has to be the combat, and for me, it's one of the best JRPGs for it. It kind of plays as if it were a single player MMO where you actually have to set your skills on a bar at the bottom of the screen, and you can scroll through them with the D-pad, and as long as you're close to the opponent, you always auto attack. And I gotta say that the Wiimote and Nunchuck is the best combination for this, at least if you play on the Wii version, just because you can move around and scroll through the arts at the same time. And this is really good just because for certain attacks, they need to hit certain parts. Like for example, Slit Edge has a special effect if you hit the side, and I think it lowers the physical defense. Stuff like this just really make me like it just because you have to think about your positioning. And of course, you can play this with other controllers, but again, I do think the Wiimote Nunchuck is still pretty good, but it's still very playable with other controllers as I mentioned. Then there was the exploration, and I think this has to be one of the biggest Wii games in terms of explorable areas. Even areas like Colony 9 has a pretty sizable map for a starting area, and the later areas are way more expansive. And again, for the Wii, this is pretty impressive since a lot of the maps have some pretty cool secrets to them, and they have a lot of unique monsters you can fight. Along with that, the game really rewards you for exploring because it actually gives you stuff like EXP, AP, and SP for leveling up, making your ult stronger and making your passive ability stronger. This is also nice since you can just get stronger by exploring and seeing different parts of the world, so you don't always have to grind for levels just by battles. Another aspect I do like has to be the characters because I feel that everyone is unique both in gameplay and in terms of story. Gameplay wise, everyone fills a role where someone like Ryan is more of a physical tank, Charles is a healer, Dog's an all-around attacker, and stuff like that. And I think story-wise, they all bounce off each other, and I think they are very likable, and they add some really nice spots to the scenes, at least when they get a chance to talk. As I mentioned, the game's graphics, especially the environments, look amazing. I'm still basing this off the Wii version, but for the system, I think the game looks great. The character models are somewhat lacking, but again, I still do think that the areas is what really shines since the draw distance is pretty good, and a lot of the texturing and the models just look really, really good. The Switch port does make the game look a lot better, and the models and stuff like that. So obviously, with that system, it just makes the game shine even more. The next part I love definitely had to be the side content, and this can make the game last longer since I think story-wise, the game will probably run you maybe like 60 to 80 hours, and this can totally extend that. From stuff like rebuilding Colony 6, fighting unique monsters, and getting all the Monarchs, there are a lot of side content that you can do if you want to go for it. And then there's the side quest in the game, which I think they're about 400, so you're in it for the long ride if you want 100% everything. Also, I'm going to talk about the story, so I'm going to put a spoiler warning here, even though this is like a 10-year-old game. So I'm just really putting here so no one can yell at me for whatever reason. And for the story, while it's not perfect, I still do think it's entertaining. From starting to wanting to destroy all the mechons to more or less killing a god, I think that most of it is still, again, entertaining. I still do like a lot of the bigger moments since I feel that they're pretty shocking and memorable. Stuff like Mumco being Metalface, Fiora being alive, and Dixon being a bad guy were all really shocking moments to me. Mumco, I did kind of guess being Metalface just because he had the same type of weapon, he spoke the same way, and I felt just really obvious. But I still liked how it revealed that normal people can become mechons throughout some surgery or whatever, but again, still pretty cool. Frankly, I still do think that this game is a gem. There's a lot to like about the game, from the content that's in the game, from the gameplay loop just being really fun, and the story being interesting, and it will keep you engaged for a good while. But I still think that there was some stuff that don't really hold up as much or just don't work out as well. One thing is how grind heavy this game can be, just in terms of your ults and affinity with party members and certain areas. My main problem with the alts is that you need to buy alt books so you can actually advance them to get stronger. So you only need to grind for money just for that, and then you also need to get equipment, which you have to balance your money quite a lot. And then with getting your alts even stronger to get to the last level, you basically need to grind certain monsters, and frankly that can take you a longer time since when they drop it, they drop a chest, and then it may not even have the book in there so you can get the strongest level, and that kind of just sucks. And then with the affinity, that's even worse just because just to get certain items for trading and even to get certain quests, you need to have certain affinities with different areas. Like for example, to get Banano Ito, you have to get Central Bionis to rank 2 to even start the quest line to get it. And then you have to do a bunch of side quests just to even get it to rank 3 to finish it. And then you need to get to a certain point in the story, which that I don't mind as much, but the infinity stuff can take you a long time. I did it, and trust me, it took me a good extra maybe like 5-ish hours just because I had to get to rank 3, maybe even more. I don't remember exactly since it's been a while, but still, it took me a lot longer than I expected. Another part I don't like is how some characters don't really get much development in the main story, or they just stop getting development altogether. Characters like Dunban, Ricky, and Ryan, I feel don't get much in the main story. Ryan is only there because he wants to help out Shulk, and he doesn't get any motivation for anything else other than, hey, I'll help you because you're my friend, and that's it. Dunban does get some cool moments early on, but yeah, again, he just doesn't really do much at the point when he's introduced. He's just there just to help out them finish the quest, from what I feel. And Ricky, I feel, gets shouted the most just because he's introduced around the same time as Melia, and all of Melia's stuff takes the front seat, while Ricky's just there because, I guess he had to finish off his debt to the village, which I guess is a good motivation for he's there, but after that, he just does nothing and just is mostly comedy relief. He does have his moments, but not much. And especially with Ricky, a lot of his character development, or at least character moments, can be found in the heart-to-heart, but I still feel that is really lacking just because, again, it is side stuff, so you don't have to see it, and I feel it just really sucks for his character. And someone like Sharla, she did get some good development, but it's only really at Colony 6 and the Ether Mines, and then after that, she doesn't really have much stakes, other than, I guess, Gatto later on, but that's just it, and I feel that sucks because she is a pretty cool character. It's just, again, she just stagnates after that point. I also do feel that this game is a tad too easy, and don't get me wrong, there are some fights that are kind of challenging, but I feel that they're only challenging because of some bullshit stuff. Like, for example, the one where you have to fight the Telethia in the Ether area. I think, you know which one I win, where it has the ether pits on the sides and the boss is really huge. I can't remember the name of the boss, but it's pretty late game. That one's only hard just because of some really bullshit stuff that it can pull, and not because it can use the game systems to its benefit. And I feel a lot of the game just doesn't do that well. For example, as long as you put gems that are related to the character, like if you give like HP and let's say attack buffs to Ryan, it will mostly suffice. And say if you give ether stuff to someone like Melia, again, that will mostly do good. Of course, you can go out and customize your loadouts to fit whatever situation you want, but I feel most bosses just don't take advantage of that stuff. And in terms of levels, as long as you're pretty close to the boss level, like for example, if you're at least like maybe 3 to 5 levels under them, you should be mostly fine. Me, I never had to grind in this game other than like the final boss just because I was 10 levels under him, and that's the only time I had to grind in this game. Of course, the less grind you have to do, the better, but again, I feel it's just this game gives you a little bit too much EXP sometimes, and that kind of sucks because, again, a lot of this game is still really fun. It's just that if you want challenge, you have to go out your way to actually get that challenge. So related to the bosses, Xenoblade 1 does a really annoying thing where when you get a certain part in the fight, like for example if you take around 50% of the health of the boss, it triggers a cutscene and one of two things happen. You either continue the boss fight or you just end the boss fight there and you see some cutscenes. This I find really annoying just because it feels really forced and happens way too often for my liking. This also does kind of ruin the pacing of fights since, you fight for like say 10 minutes and then you have to see 50 minutes plus of cutscenes, and it's just really annoying. And what I said before about it just ending the boss fight right there and then, that happens way too much, and I feel it's just, again, really annoying to me. And the game just takes away control for you for numerous fights at a time. I know this happens a lot, like early to mid game, not as much late game, but it still happens quite a bit and just really annoying to me. Another thing I just didn't really like as much had to be the side quests, because a lot of them are just the generic go kill this monster, go collect these things, or go kill certain monsters enough time, and frankly it's just all really boring to me. I did say there are a lot of them, and a lot of the quests are just that, and honestly I do know that there are some unique quests, but then again there are a lot that will just fill up with just useless stuff that you could probably just spend like maybe like 20 minutes doing if you just grind it out, and I just don't really like it as much just because, again, I find it really boring. But I still would say that this game is really fun and enjoyable, and a lot of my problems with the game don't make it unplayable. It's just some minor aggravations to me. I still would say this has to be one of my favorite games since it's really unique and still really fun to play it. Monolith Soft really put a lot of effort into making this game shine. But as always, let's go over the likes and dislikes before we finish the video. Likes: great gameplay, really good exploration, characters are unique, pretty good graphics for the Wii and especially good graphics for the Switch, good side content. And dislikes: grind heavy at some points, some characters don't get as much development, can be kind of easy, and boss fights often get cut short. A lot of the side quests are just generic. Thank you guys for watching and see you guys later.